Thank you so much, Kayla, and thank you everyone for joining us today, and our illustrious speakers for being with us today, taking time out of their busy schedules to join us. I'm really thrilled to be able to offer this webinar to you, digital educational resources to support families and youth achievement. As I said, we're very lucky to have Common Sense Media, who I think many of you, well, you should be familiar with them. They're a ConnectHomeUSA stakeholder, and they've done several webinars for us in the past. We're also lucky to have Get Schooled with us today. Both of these nonprofits are dedicated to helping youth and families succeed through the development and distribution of free online resources. So again, great to have them on today. First up, we'll hear from Vicki Saylor, who is the Manager of Family and Community Education at Common Sense Media. And just a quick word about Common Sense Media. They're a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping kids thrive in a world of media and technology. Prior to joining Common Sense, Vicki served as the Arizona Regional Manager for Common Sense Education and spent over 25 years as a bilingual elementary school teacher and University College of Education student advisor. We will also be joined in the Q&A portion by Diane Jones-Lowry, who works at Common Sense in the Family and Community Engagement team and leads national partnerships and community engagement. Later we'll hear from John Branham, who is the Executive Director of Get Schooled, and I'll introduce him when we get to his portion of the presentation. So with that, let me turn it over to Vicki, and thanks everyone.
All right, can you guys hear me? Yep.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, great, thanks. Thanks for being here today. My name is Vicki Saylor, as I was introduced so warmly by our hosts, and I just wanted to let you know that during our presentation, we will be putting some links in the chat, and you have the deck, so I just want you to sit back and take it all in. We will be going fairly quickly, but I do encourage you to interact in the chat with me. I will be posing some questions, so I'd love to hear your ideas, so feel free to share those in the chat. So let's begin. Next slide, please. Okay, so today's presentation is managing media in young kids. So we will be talking about how can we help our families just help their kids manage their media and tech use. And so just as I mentioned, just sit back, relax. We're going to go through some of our takeaways on the next slide, please. We're going to be talking about our media trends. I just want to lay that foundation down for you so you can just get a little more background on what that looks like right now. We also are going to be talking about some strategies you can use in your own families, and you can also encourage your families to use, the families that you serve, for how to have healthier media and tech use. We will also be sharing some of our Common Sense resources for families, and I will show you where you can find those. And then I will, last but not least, give you a sneak peek at our Early Childhood Toolkit. And these are workshops designed for family advocates to use to help families learn how to use media and tech to help develop those really important executive functioning skills in their young children. So next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, this is just the cover for a research report that we did. Everything that we do at Common Sense is based on research. And we conducted a study in 2020 to learn more about the trends we are seeing in media and tech use in kids 0 to 8 years old. It is a rather long report, but I encourage you to read it at your own leisure to understand more about these trends. I will be highlighting a few key points on the next slide that you can take away with you today. On this slide, you'll see that we found that the amount of screen time children 8 and younger were using averaged at about 2.5 hours. We saw that it does increase as kids get older, as you might expect. And on the next slide, we also wanted to highlight that among those 0 to 8 years old, what we found was that the parents, were saying that they were watching TV or videos most of the time. And we found that of that time, 73% was spent watching TV or videos. And why does this matter? You know, kids may actually be using this even a little more than average. We know that things are changing now, and kids are spending even more time with media and tech. And a question we often hear is, how much time is okay for my child? You know, to be online, to use media and tech. We know that all families are different, and we know that one size doesn't fit all. And we know, as I mentioned, that especially since the pandemic, families are, you know, using media and tech more. They're more stressed out, schedules might be different. So we just wanted to really highlight why it's important to make good choices. And on the next slide, you'll see that we also found that parents and caregivers are very trusting of what their children are watching. We found that they had overwhelmingly positive views of the screen media their children use. Some of the shows and TV and videos that the kids are watching, the videos they're watching, some of them are educational, but others are not so, and can also contain things that are inappropriate for them. We also found that 1 in 5 videos viewed by children 8 and under contain ads that are not age appropriate. I think we found like there's even content, educational content that might be covered up when they are, you know, on an educational app, for example, or watching something to learn something new. And so parents feel that, you know, I chose this show or this video with my child, and I thought it was okay, but then in reality, there are things behind that that might hinder their development. And so we just want to be really careful about the choices we make, and we want to help guide parents on where to find those high quality videos, educational content, and things of that nature. On the next slide, we'll see that it's not so much about the screen time, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Although that's really important, we know that it's more about how they're using media and tech that's really going to make the difference. On the following slide, I've broken it down into 3 different types of media and screen use. And I'd love to hear your ideas in the chat on what you would, you know, what you think passive media use would be. What do you think interactive media use looks like? What do you think creative media use looks like? So, you know, sometimes we use things, you know, sometimes we use media and tech for entertainment, and that's okay. Sometimes we use it for learning. Sometimes we use it alone. Sometimes we use it with someone else. We know that not all screen time is created equal, and so I'd love to hear what you think. You know, what do you think passive media use looks like? Please feel free to share that in the chat. I know that a lot of times we learn from one another, so it'd be really great for others on this call as well to see what types of ideas are out there. You know, when we think of passive, you know, some of the things that we see are, you know, watching alone, you know, scrolling. Sometimes people describe it as vegging out. You know, and that's okay sometimes. Sometimes we just need to do that, and that's okay. We never want to shame parents for the way they are using media. We just want to encourage them on more positive ways to use it. We know that interactive use is something that really, really helps make those connections. So whether it's viewing or playing media together or video chatting, that's a really good thing. I know a lot of parents say, you know, well, you know, babies and young kids maybe shouldn't be using media. We did find that when they do use video chats, for example, that their development is positively affected, like their language. They make those connections with family members that they might not be able to see regularly. And then we also found that using media creatively can really help with learning as well. Things like coding, educational apps, you know, even if they're watching a show, there are ways that they can help develop their skills, their life skills, those essential executive functioning skills by being you know, creative with that, you know, searching for things if they are watching, learning new languages, or, you know, identifying with the character, or, you know, building that empathy in them, for example. On the next slide, I did want to just highlight that, you know, we did find that when, you know, children use media in collaboration, or when they're making those connections with their families, and they use it for high quality educational content, when they watch, read, and play with an engaged adult who can help them with that learning, and when they balance screen time with other activities, we also found that it can help increase pre-literacy skills, pre-numeracy skills, and support social and emotional learning. And that's something that we're hearing a lot about right now. So let's find ways to really use media to really enhance that learning in our kids. On the next slide, you'll see that I'm highlighting our commonsensemedia.org website. And at Common Sense, we are known for our ratings and reviews. And I just wanted to highlight this and highly encourage you to help your families find high quality content by visiting our site. After today, I also invite you to look up a movie, game, TV show, or app that you or your families that you serve would like to learn more about. This is a really great first step in encouraging learning when they are using media and tech, by making those intentional choices and really being informed about what they are going to use. On the next slide, you'll see that I'm also highlighting our best of lists. We also have lists where families can find curated lists of best books, TV shows, movies, and learning apps. They are also divided by age group, which makes finding high quality content specifically for the age group that you're looking for even easier. So there are ways that we can help, even if it's just guiding them to where they can find it, or whether you are having an actual workshop with them, and we'll talk about that a little later. On the next slide, I also wanted to highlight our YouTube channel. We also found that many of our families really like YouTube. They love our YouTube page. They love receiving information via video. So this is a really great resource that I recommend that you share with your families as well. We have short videos that give parenting tips and ideas for healthy media and tech use, and also tips for helping kids manage things like emotions, or even tips for parents on how to use technology. Many of our parents come to us, they ask for information on how do I use Zoom? How do I use Google Classroom? I have no idea. So highly encourage you to share this popular resource as well. So now on the next slide, I'm going really fast because I want to get through it all. So now that I've broken down the what and why and where to find some help, let's talk about some activities and other tips on how to help your families with developing those essential life skills, those executive functioning skills. So how can we use media and tech in healthier ways to promote that learning? One key way is to watch, read, and play with kids, right? So we know that watching, reading, and playing with an engaged adult who can help with learning has shown to have positive effects on their development. When we talk about co-view, sometimes we'll say co-use, and it's just the practice of using media and technology together. So become familiar with this phrase and use it often with your families to help educate them on what this means. They might also be hearing this when their kids start going to school, or if they are already in school. So what does it do? It creates a safe online experience. A lot of times we hear about privacy issues. A lot of parents are fearful of where their children are visiting online. So this also promotes that interaction, that experience, a safer online experience for their kids. It helps identify any critical issues that may come up. If their kids are using a website or they are watching a video, if the parent or caregiver is there, they're able to help them in that moment and identify any issues, and then provide support in that real moment, in that real time. And then it also can reinforce family values by talking about the kinds of shows or videos or apps, video games that your family has approved, or that this is going to be a good choice. So it provides that experience where parents and caregivers can have those conversations with their children. It also encourages that conversation, as I was talking about. The trust and bonding is crucial to their development. So when kids feel validated, when they feel important. You know, my mom and dad, my caregiver, my grandma, my aunt, they're spending time with me, and they're learning about my likes, and they're actually teaching me something. So that also increases trust and bonding. And again, it promotes learning and making those connections. And we know that making connections is where the magic happens when kids are learning. Without those connections, learning is not going to be as I guess, I don't want to say as good, but we are going to have a more positive experience when it comes to making those connections if we are using it with our children. So on the next slide, I did want to highlight another key thing to keep in mind is always practice balance. This goes for parents and caregivers as well. Kids are watching us, so we have to be good role models, and we really have to practice what we preach. And so also, you know, identifying in yourself or encouraging your families to identify their habits. You know, what does media and tech look like for you? These are some conversations that you can have with your families as you're guiding them on how to use media and tech in healthier ways. On the next slide, you'll see that we have something called a family media agreement. And this is a really, it's an easy place to start, and you can take this away with you today. I think it's one of the links that we're providing, and it's also in the list of resources that we're sharing in the deck. We can immediately use this to encourage our families to start having those conversations if they haven't already done so. This can help establish those rules, those expectations around what media and tech use is going to look like in their family. Again, we know that all families are different, not one size fits all. So there are some preset ideas listed, but there's also an area where families can fill in their own idea. It's important to have this discussion as a family and take everybody's feelings into consideration. So this is another thing that you can encourage families to do when you are sharing this with them. If this media agreement looks too complicated for some of your families, they might have very young kids, or they might just be looking for something a little easier. On the next slide, you'll see that we partnered with the Brooklyn Public Library, and we created a family media agreement. It's called Family Screen Time Plan for Younger Children. And both of these resources come in English and Spanish, so you can feel good about sharing those with many of your families. So take a look at those. On the next slide, you'll see that we have an activity called the Ideal Meals. And this is a little sneak peek at an activity that is in our family workshops that I'll be talking about later today. But this is an activity that you can do with your families as well to help them start thinking about what media and tech use looks like in their family. And these stand for, like this acronym stands for different things. So model, you know, M for model, be a good example. E, engage, use media to make connections, as I was saying before. A, adjust, choose appropriate content. If you find that it's not so appropriate or not so beneficial, let's just make that adjustment. And then limit, you know, set healthy habits for yourself and for your kids. As I was mentioning, be a good role model. We got to do it for ourselves as well. And then support your family and friends. This takes the whole community. Sometimes kids are at school, sometimes they're with babysitters, sometimes they're with other relatives. So it really needs to be a whole community effort and something that we can talk about with other people that are helping, you know, spend time with our kids or helping us raise our children. And so basically it's just an ideal meal. And so it's just like a plate, you divide it, and then you just talk about, you know, how much time are we going to designate to each of these activities? And as I mentioned, all families are different, so they might have, you know, different activities. Some kids are involved in sports, others aren't. Some kids are more musical than others. So whatever that looks like, I encourage them to think about the diet that they're going to have when it comes to media and tech. In much the same way that we talk about our food diet, we need to be well balanced or we're not going to be healthy. Same goes for media and tech. So this is another activity. It's quick, it's easy, the parents and caregivers love it. So it's another way for them to really wrap their head around what media and tech is going to look like in their family. On the next slide, I wanted to share with you our Tech Balance texting service. We have an offering called Tech Balance, and it's a messaging service where you can receive 2 to 3 bite-sized messages per week with helpful tips and resources to help families find more balance with media and tech. It is completely free as long as you have unlimited text messages, and it is designed for parents of 3 to 8-year-olds. However, I find that the resources that we send are very relevant for all ages. You know, we might get just a friendly reminder on, have you had a device-free dinner tonight? And everyone can benefit from that, you know. So I invite you to sign up too. It's super easy. You just text the word, like you just pick up your phone if you want to do that right now. It's super easy. You just, where it says to, you just put the number 21555. And then where you would write the message, you just type kids for English messages or familia for Spanish messages, and then you're good to go. It'll send you a quick little survey, and then you can immediately begin receiving text messages with those tips. Sometimes there are videos. Sometimes you get, you know, how-to videos, kind of as I was mentioning with the, you know, how do I use Google Classroom? How do I use Zoom? Sometimes you'll get things on social emotional learning. Sometimes you'll get book lists. So lots of different ideas. On the next slide, you'll see a couple of examples of what those text messages look like. And they do come in English and Spanish, as I was saying. So please share this with your families. It's been very well received and parents love it. We've gotten lots of great feedback on this. So this is another resource that you can share immediately with your families. On the next slide, I wanted to give you a little sneak peek on our latest asset at Common Sense. So we have a new toolkit, and again, everything that we do at Common Sense is grounded in research. And these workshop activities are based on our in-depth analysis of the relationships between children's use of high-quality media content and their screen time and the development of those executive functioning skills. And the report is called Children, Executive Functioning in Media, a Review 2020. Again, we're going to share that with you, and when you have time, I highly recommend that you read this. It has a lot of great insight on how media and tech may affect children's development. As a former early education educator, I even needed to brush up on some of these ideas and some of this this content. So I think it's really important, if we are going to be working with families who have children, who have young children, it's really important to be able to understand the foundation and how media and tech may affect their development. On the next slide, you'll see a little sneak peek, and you guys have this sneak peek. It is not released yet. We are releasing this in early 2022, so look on our website, because we will have a landing page where you can access all of these workshops, again, for free. The workshops are called Managing Media, Young Kids and Screens, Early Childhood Toolkit, and they come, there are 6 topics and 6 workshop activities. So you'll see that one of them is called Technology and Now, and this is where parents and caregivers think about how technology has changed in our lifetime, and then also talk about the benefits and challenges of raising kids in today's digital world. And then the Ideal Meals, I gave you a little sneak peek on one of the activities in that workshop, the Ideal Meal, the wheel chart that we were talking about. So this is where parents and caregivers can explore how to establish a healthy balance of activities for their children. And not only, and I should have mentioned this before, not only with media and tech, but also without media and tech, because we want to make sure that parents are encouraging a balanced approach just to life, right? We want to encourage them to also have online activities, but also encourage them to have offline activities. And then the third workshop is called Family Media Choices. And this is where parents and caregivers learn the importance of choosing high quality media content for their children and where to find those resources. I highlighted some of those for you today with our Common Sense Media website, where you can find our ratings and reviews and also those best of lists. But we have you know, so much more to offer. So this is a really good workshop to just help guide your families learn where to find high quality content. The Family Media Connections on the bottom left is what we were talking earlier about co-using and co-viewing media and the benefits of that. Practice using questioning strategies. We have questioning cards in there that families can use with their kids when they are using media and tech with their children to enhance that learning and to strengthen those important early childhood skills. And then also we have a Pause and Think sing-along video, which has our DigStick characters. Some of you may be familiar with our Common Sense Education digital citizenship curriculum. And we know that it's never too early to start talking about digital citizenship, but we need to be relevant for little kids. So this is by way of a song. And so parents and caregivers can explore how to introduce digital citizenship and online safety in an accessible, fun way for young children. And last but not least, we have our Life Skills Bingo workshop where parents and caregivers can take a deeper dive into executive functioning skills and learn how media and tech may affect those key areas of their development. So I went really fast, but I wanted to make sure you got it all. And we also have a slide on here that has all of the resources that we talked about today. And later on today, after this presentation, we will be here to answer any of your questions. So with that, I will wrap up and take a drink of water. But I hope you were able to get just a really good overview of, how to help your families balance media and tech, use it for learning, and really pay attention to developing those early childhood skills. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to talking with you in the Q&A.
Thank you, Vicki. That was awesome. Thank you so much also to Common Sense Media for developing so many great resources to help our families. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce John Branham, who, as I mentioned earlier, is the Executive Director of Get Schooled, a national nonprofit whose mission is to help underrepresented youth get to college, find first jobs, and succeed in both through a unique blend of research-based, youth-friendly digital content and personalized support. Before I turn it over to John, I did want to mention that this session is being recorded. We've gotten a few questions about that in the chat. So rest assured, if your colleagues have missed it today, they will be able to find it on HUD Exchange. So with that, let me pass it over to John for his presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and also shout out to Common Sense Media. So I'm John Branham. I'm the Executive Director of Get Schooled. I'm also a father of 2 young children, 6 and 10, and we use Common Sense Media all the time. So super appreciate all of your work. Really delighted to be with all of you today and to share more about Get Schooled. If we can flip to the next slide here. So Get Schooled was founded 11 years ago out of this core challenge that unfortunately continues to persist today, which is that the national average of high school, college, and career counselors to students is 1 to about 450. Effectively, there are structural racial inequalities in our schools across the country that make it very difficult for low-income, first-gen, and Black and brown youth to successfully navigate into college. And so Get Schooled was founded to address exactly that problem. Let's go to the next slide. So Get Schooled is America's only all-free, all-digital college and first jobs counselor. We focus on trying to help young people navigate successfully into college, to be successful during that first year of college, and to find their first jobs. Not their first jobs after college, but those first jobs that oftentimes are putting bread on the table for their families, Starbucks barista, Amazon warehouse, those kinds of jobs, which are either helping their families to survive or helping those young people to save for college or successfully navigate through college. So Get Schooled addresses and provides support and content for all 3 of those. We can go to the next slide. So I'm not going to talk through this slide, but I wanted to just sort of put it out there so that it's in your deck. We work nationally, so every young person in the country from 16 to 24, we are there to help them. As long as they've got email access or a cell phone to text, we're available to help them. You can look over on the left-hand side on our reach. So we support kids in all 50 states and in almost every community in America. We have more than 1 million new users that come to us, young people, every single year that engage with our content and supports. We're texting with them. They're using our job search tool, which is best in class. And then you can sort of look over on the impact. This is what young people say. 99% of them say that we're helpful in helping them to navigate into college. 89% of them said we help them succeed in college. 100% said we help them find a job. So this is just sort of a high level. You can look at the slide in detail a little bit later. The final thing I'll say here is that the majority of the young people that we serve across the country are Black and brown, so 70%. More than half are first gen, and more than half have financial needs. So we're serving the young people that we think are the same young people that you're serving. You can go to the next slide. So again, we've talked about this briefly. We help them navigate into college. We help them succeed while there, and we help them find the first job. We can go to the next slide. Let's talk here. We'll spend a little time here. It's really the how we do our work that I like to say is the special sauce. So if you're a young person, first gen, Black, brown, low income youth, and you aspire to go to college, but it's a very overwhelming process, and you don't know or you can't navigate successfully to your high school counselor. The question is, how are you going to do that, right? And so let's say you've heard about the FAFSA, but you don't know exactly what that is. So you go online, you Google FAFSA. The last time I checked, there were more than 7 million hits on FAFSA. So yet again, it's an overwhelming process. But if you come to Get Schooled, instead, you're going to see a 90-second video with a brown-skinned woman who's about 25 years old, an HBCU grad, who's going to distill the 3 essential things that you need to know about the FAFSA. And it's going to be a really engaging video. So we're developing content that is research-based, engaging, youth-friendly for each one of those 3 journeys I talked about: getting to college, succeeding while they're there, and finding that first job. So we're developing meaningful content. To, I think, some of the overtures from our earlier presentation, we also know that young people are spending a disproportionate amount of their time online. So that's where we're at, right? That's the power of being an all-digital platform. So we're on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those platforms that young people are using to get information. So we might, for example, take that video about FAFSA completion, or how to write a powerful college application essay, or how to find that first job, or how to ask for a raise. Anything that you can imagine, and what the research shows us are the major inflection points. And then we develop content around it. So we're going to develop a 3-minute YouTube video, but then we're going to take a derivative of that and we're going to put it on TikTok, which may only be 10 seconds, right? Or we may put it on Instagram, which may be more like 1.5 minutes. So we're taking the content and putting it across social media so that when young people are there, they're actually getting rich content. And then, very importantly, on this personalized advice that you're seeing here, we're going to text that content to young people that have signed up for our text line, along with encouraging comments, nudges, check-ins with them, so that they're getting this beautiful mix of content that's going to help them along their journey, free advice, and support. You know, they can email back, hey, Get Schooled, I saw the video about FAFSA completion. I'm stuck on question 17. Can you help me? And the answer, of course, is yes. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm not going to spend time here, but again, I wanted this to be in the deck that you can take a look at. This gives you a sense of, there's a lot of supports that young people need in each one of these journeys. When they're a high school junior, when they're a senior, first year of college. We don't try to cover all of the needs and supports, But what we do is we look at what the research shows are the major inflection points, and then we develop content for those specific areas. So if the young people are engaging with our content and asking for support, these are the key steps they can take and key content with which they can engage in order to help ensure that they're successfully going to navigate along the journeys. Let's go to the next slide, please. Again, not going to spend time here, but what I'll say is that we've got third-party random control trials that show that our content and our supports are difference makers in young people's lives, and we hear that from them by the thousands every year. And again, they never have to get on a bus, get on a train, show up in person everywhere. It's all digital, right? We can go to the next slide. So if you go to our website, www.getschooled.com, now we are a national, we're a nonprofit, but we use a .com because young people told us 11 years ago when we started that they were more likely to go to a .com than a .org. So if you go to our website, getschooled.com, what you'll see immediately is that our content is organized around those journeys, and it's presented in a way that's designed to engage with young people. It's not primarily for adults, although we do package and support content for educators and counselors, but it's really designed for young people, and everything that we do is mobile first, so it looks great on cell phones, which is where about 60% of young people are engaging with our content. Let's go to the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we're big on social media, and so our team spends a considerable amount of time understanding in what ways do young people engage with social media and the performance of every single piece, so that we are constantly evolving the way that we're engaging and creating content, so that it's designed to be amplified across all of those different platforms, because the algorithms that guide YouTube are different than Instagram, are different than TikTok. So we're paying close attention to those algorithms, and we're adjusting our social media so that it's lifted up to young people's attention. We can go to the next slide. Texting. So we have about 20,000 young people that are on text and receive our content. We have general text lines that we run, and then we have some that are specific, say, to just our jobs content. And so we will mix that content if we know what year in school the student is. Are they a junior? Are they a senior? Are they a freshman in college? We'll change that mixture of content and supports depending on where they're at in their journeys. So a young person can either sign up for a specific text line like our jobs content, or they can sign up for just our education content, and then if we know what year they are, we will adjust that. But again, it's a combination of us sending content, sending them links, sending them nudges and support, and then also a platform for them to ask any question that they have and receive personalized supports. Let's go to the next slide. This is just an example of the supports we lend around FAFSA completion, but, and I'm not sure if I put this on a slide, but in addition to this tangible example of the supports we offer around FAFSA, we also, for example, last year reviewed and commented on more than 1,300 college application essays for free, right? And for most young people, we were the only adults reading their essays. And a well-crafted essay can be the difference maker on whether or not a young person successfully navigates into college or not. Similarly, we reviewed approximately 1,200 resumes. So you can imagine that a young person goes to our website or they're on social, they see one of our videos around how to find a first job. They go to our website and they enter in their zip code in our first job section, and all of the first jobs that are available in that zip code pop up. They get really excited because they think, oh gosh, you know, I can finally get that job that my family or I need. But wait, they require a resume and I don't have one. No problem. They just text us and they say, hey, can I get help with my resume? Sure, you bet. We text them a link to our sort of pre-formatted resume. They complete it. We review it for free. And then they'll text back and they say, great, I got an interview. It's in 4 days. Can I do a practice run with you? And the answer is 100%. We're happy to do that, right? Everything that we just described, free of charge for young people, right? So let's go to the next slide. This is just an example. We also offer scholarships. We did a massive campaign this last year where we gave away $40,000 in scholarships around the theme of we belong in college. So really engendering this belief that students all across the country that look like you, that are first generation, just like you are, do belong in college. And so we invited young people to offer inspiring commentary around a challenge that they faced in navigating to or through college and how they overcame that. And then actually we're in the process right now of sending out congratulation emails for our next round of scholarship winners. So we do all kinds of scholarships that way. Again, the whole idea here is to motivate and support first gen and young people of color and immigrant youth in navigating successfully into college. We'll go to the next slide, almost done here. These were just some of the stats here that I pulled. We had 926,000 people watch those videos that I just referenced. More than 12 million social impressions. That's the power of harnessing the digital space for good. And I won't go through all of these, but more than 800 stories were shared. We can go to the next slide. We've done 2 national campaigns promoting HBCUs, really amplifying HBCUs across the country, and the response was incredible on this last round, which we did about 2 weeks ago. We put some money on the table for scholarships, inviting young people to write a paragraph about why they were excited to go to an HBCU, what they've learned through our content about HBCUs, or what they're enjoying while being in an HBCU. And in just 5 days, we had 770 applications to that, and we gave away more than $10,000 in scholarships. We'll go to the next slide. Here were just some stats for our first HBCU week. We can go to the next one. We've also got a partnership with the Common Black College application. So if you can use the Common Black College app, and that application for $20 will then go straight to 66 HBCUs, which is really incredible. So they're a partner of ours. We amplify their work. We also have scholarships to apply for that $20 in support. We'll go to the next slide. And then this is, I've referenced this before, on our First Jobs work, free resume help, youth-centered job search tool, which is really powerful. And then we provide job tips and career advice. We'll go to the next slide. Also lots of content around career exploration. What do some of these jobs really look like? Do people that look like me have those kinds of jobs? And how do you navigate those early career choices? Again, all free. Next slide, please. So partnerships with PHAs, right? So what could this look like if you were to engage with us? The first thing is, you can promote Get Schooled, right, to all of your administrators, the families, the young people that live in your communities. So that's easy, very straightforward. We could engage, and those people, young people, could engage with us via text, and happy to engage with any one of you directly if you have some follow-up questions around that. Obviously, and as I've shared, we can support your young people and families around essay and resume reviews. We could do targeted webinars if a couple of you wanted to come back together and have us do a webinar for your communities, we'd be happy to do that. And then if we wanted to talk about sort of next level supports that are really customized levels of supports with content or specific engagement that would be tiered, we could talk about that. That may be something that we charge for, but everything else that we just talked through would be free. And I think that's it. Let me just say, I'm going to pop in the chat. I'll pop in my email address. And then also, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, post a lot of our links and updates and comments as well there. So thank you very much. Look forward to the conversation and questions.
Thanks so much, John and Vicki. I'm just going to dive right into the questions. We have about 12 minutes left for questions, and I've had a few come in, so I think we'll have enough time. And just a reminder to my audience members that you can either ask questions by dropping them in the chat or by raising your hand and asking them, and I can unmute your line and we can ask them out loud. Okay, so without further ado, I'll start off with a question for common sense. Can you repeat again when the new toolkit will be released, and how do you recommend that we share this with our communities?
There, I'm live. We are hoping this launches in January 2022, but just keep in touch with us through our website. We will have a landing page, and so that would be the best way to share it with your families. All of the resources will be on our website. It is intended to be a workshop toolkit, so it is for family advocates to use when conducting workshops. So it's not something that you want to share with families without using it as a workshop, probably. There are some resources in there that you could share with them, but those resources could also be found on our website. So hopefully that makes sense. We will have a landing page. It has a facilitator's guide. It has other information about the toolkit to help you use it. It's supposed to be a standalone where you don't necessarily need us to come in and train your organization. But yeah, just keep an eye out for it. We will have a landing page on our Common Sense site.
Great, thanks. We had quite a few questions about that, so that gets a lot of those. Next up is for Get Schooled. Is there a way you provide support to students who don't have access to phones, computers, or internet? Do you advertise at local libraries or anything like that?
Great question. So we don't advertise except digitally. We're a 14-person organization with a very small budget. So to create the efficiencies, we do it all digitally. But if a young person through you, for example, hears about us and uses any computer with internet access, including at a library, they can connect directly with us.
Okay, great, thanks. Another one for Get Schooled. So the pandemic changed some admission requirements. For example, some colleges stopped making standardized tests mandatory. Do you work with admissions offices to keep up with trends in what colleges are looking for?
That's a great question. So we spend a considerable amount of time working very hard in a constantly changing environment to stay abreast of those changes. And we do, in fact, develop content and updates around, when California State school system, higher ed system changed their updates around their requirements, we would share that content nationally. And during the pandemic, when we realized that, of course, most young people are not going to the New York Times or the Washington Post for breaking news around changes in education public policy that directly affected young people, we did do a lot of sort of 3-minute almost news updates, if you will, and we're posting those online. So yes, our team is always working hard to stay abreast of that, and we do share that nationally.
Thanks, John. So next up is a question for Common Sense. Do you all directly partner with organizations in the community such as housing authorities? If so, what does that look like?
Diane, do you want to take that question?
Yes, I will do. So our partnership with housing authorities at this point is through the Connect Home organization. We do partner with community-based organizations, particularly with the Early Childhood Toolkit. We've partnered with early childhood organizations like Head Starts and Early Head Starts, and child care organizations. We are also partnering with school districts who have early childhood education within their districts. So that's how we are partnering right now. But if there are specific requests, please let us know either through this platform or connecting with Dina or Kayla for specific questions.
Great, thank you. Next up is for Get Schooled. So for personalized support, how would a young person connect with a staff person at your organization? I imagine, like you said, that happens digitally, but if there's a specific way that you recommend, can you talk us through that?
That's a great question, and I'll follow. I'll put this in the chat here, but they just need to text 335577, right? That's our general text line, and once they're there, they'll just start to receive the general content. But then if they have a specific follow-up question about any of the topics that we've discussed, I mean, it could be like, you know, I got 3 offers to go to college and I'm having a difficult deciding which one. Can you help me? Yes, right? I'm looking for scholarships to go to college. Can you help me? Yes, right? So the answer is almost always going to be yes, if it's anything related to any of those 3 journeys that we talked about. And that's the easiest way for them to sign up. They can also go on our website, and we purposefully keep all of our content ungated, right? Because we don't want there to be a barrier of entry for any of the young people that we serve. But if they want to, on our website, sign up to receive emails, and our emails are really fantastic. They look sort of like, not all of them, but many, if not most of them, look like Pinterest boards. So the content will be organized, and you'll just, if you're on your phone or whatever, or on your computer, you just click on an image, and it'll pop directly into the content. That might be a Twitter comment, it might be an Instagram. So they can't, that is a second way by signing up to receive emails that they can engage with us.
Awesome, thank you. Next up is Common Sense. I promise I'm not ordering these. This just happened naturally, so thanks, y'all. Do you have any best practice or tips for helping parents whose children are heavy tech users to redirect their use and or time spent online?
Well, as I mentioned, that's a really heavy topic because that's the question we get. We get the most, you know, my kid, how much time is okay? My kid is, they often say my kid's addicted, which is also a heavy term. So we just, you know, I would guide them to our website. We have tons of resources for parents on different topics. We have articles for something such as what you mentioned, but, you know, not one size fits all. So we often want to help parents have those conversations early and often with their kids, be good role models, and then, you know, have those check-ins with their kids and establish those roles. So maybe starting with the family media agreement, again, just having those conversations in the moment, using media with their kids to get, you know, an idea of what they like, what kinds of things, you know, they are spending their time with. And then that way the parent becomes more informed and then can create other types of experiences and recommendations for their kids based on what they're seeing. That would be my recommendation. Diane, do you have any others?
No, I think those are great. Thanks, Vicki.
Okay. So this, I think, is again for you, Diane, in your response about partnering with PHAs. So would you be opening to partner with PHAs who are starting an early learning collaboration for parents and community partners at one of our developments?
Absolutely. Our goal really is to reach the types of families that you serve, and partnering with you would be a tremendous opportunity for us. So yes, we'd absolutely be interested in it.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
the way that we would, the way that we would go about it, particularly with the Early Childhood Toolkit, which is, you know, a unique piece of content that really is going to help families think through media and technology and how to integrate it into their lives in the way that best works for them, with some recommendations around best practices. We would look to train trainers, train educators, train advocates. That's what we would do. Our role is not really to train the families, but these toolkits have been designed with to make it really easy for you to be able to do trainings with your families. So the way we go about it is to do a train the trainer program with you and other folks that work with your families, and then the resources would be easily available on our landing page. Does that answer your question?
Let me see. Yes. So the contact has to drop off, but they provided their email, and I will connect you both after the session so you can follow up.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yes. So with that, we're right at the top of the hour, and actually that was our last question, so quite serendipitous. Dina, I will pass it over to you to close us out.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for all of the coordination and hosting today, and to Diane, Vicki, and John for being with us today and offering your wonderful resources to our communities and families that we serve and think about every day. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday next week, and we'll see you right back here next month with another webinar, which we are planning right now, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget that this will be on HUD Exchange. Thanks again to everyone for being on today, and we'll be in touch. Take care, everyone.